CBS News.
Looking for a trusted supplier for all your household hardware needs? Look no further than Competitive Hardware Limited. We provide top quality building materials including cement, all types of iron sheets, paints, PPR and PVC pipes, electric pipes, building grills, BRC and square till in various sizes. Need interior and finishing materials? We've got you covered with gypsum, gypsum rails, marine boards, ceiling boards and tanks of all sizes. For fencing, we stock barbed wire, chain link and wire mesh. And the best part, we offer free countrywide delivery with our fleet of transit trucks and pickups. Your order arrives on time, every time. Visit us in Kitengela along Namanga Highway, opposite 411 stage, or at our branches in Kitisuru and Busia. For enquiries, call us on 020-26-88888 or 0733-666632 or 0721-923248. Competitive Hardware Limited, your reliable hardware supplier. Almarai Company, in collaboration with Competitive Manpower, is urgently hiring for the following exciting roles: Grade 1 mechanics, panel beaters, refrigeration technicians, lead mechanics, diesel plant mechanics, welders and stainless steel welders. Why apply? This is a free recruitment with no application or placement fees required. Contact us today on 0721 506627 or 0733 392180. You can also visit us at Waterseas Plaza, Kikorok Road. Alternatively, you can send an email to info@competitivemanpower.com. Apply now. Limited slots available.
You're watching CBS News. 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 You're watching CBS News.
A very good morning to you, our viewers, wherever you are tuned in. Welcome to CBS News. This is the newspaper review Tuesday morning, being the 15th day of July. Welcome to CBS News. My name is Dennis MUNYI. Remember, you can engage us in our social media platforms across. At YouTube, remember this broadcast is coming to you live at YouTube, CBS News Kenya, and all our social media platforms. My name is Dennis MUNYI. We take a look at the stories making headlines. With me here is the Daily Nation, and the Daily Nation has a bold headline: reckless talk. The Daily Nation talks about reckless talk, and it's about political leaders who have been making reckless talk. And if you grab a copy of the Daily Nation, you'll see at the far end, at the far right end there, pictures of members of parliament such as Baringo North Member of Parliament Joseph Makilap and Kapsaret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi, together with Wajir Woman Representative Fatuma Jeho and the Tiati Member of Parliament William Kamket. That is the story that has been given headline at our Daily Nation. And at the far end, it's a photo of a student from Moses Kiptanui Primary School in Uasin Gishu, who was performing at a Marakwet folk dance during the closing over of the 97th edition of the Kenya Music Festivals. Other stories that are in our Daily Nation is the story about the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Eliud Dagat, resuming office after the High Court yesterday refused to give orders barring him from returning to office. We also have a story on ghost workers. It has now emerged that there are ghost workers who are pretending to work as health workers, and it's a haste of 9 Kenyan shillings 9 billion in a UHC haste scandal. We also have a story on education, whereby now the school heads are demanding that the government should release capitation funds, and now they are saying that they are in a bad state and the government should release those capitation funds. And in football news, we have Chelsea's beating PSG in the Club World Cup final. That is the story. Those are the stories that have been given headline in our Daily Nation, and we go straight to our page 2 of the Daily Nation, whereby we see there is now emerging story of a shilling 9 billion scandal. And now in a revelation that was revealed yesterday by the Committee for Health, they revealed that now there were approximately 3,000 ghost workers who have been collecting monthly salaries of over 50,000 each month, and that is accumulating up to 9 billion Kenyan shillings. It is a 9 billion Kenyan shillings scandal, whereby people are posing to be health workers, plumbers, salon workers posing as health workers. And now officials who are conducting nationwide head count of the universal health coverage and medics have uncovered a shocking revelation that some of the 8,571 health workers who are deployed during the COVID-19 to frontline the 2020 COVID-19 and the 2019 COVID-19 are that now there are details emerging that 8,571 health workers are actually plumbers, salon workers, carpenters, and others as early childhood education teachers with no medical training in whatsoever. And now according to a revelation that was revealed by the Rakanithi Governor Muthomi Njoki, who is the chair of the Council of Governors Health Committee yesterday, he now revealed that that 8,571 health workers have been earning an average of 50,000 each month. That's about the number of ghost workers who are 3,000 and each earning a total of 50,000. That means there is monthly basis of 150 million Kenyan shillings that is lost. And in 5 years, when you calculate that, it's about 60 million Kenyan shillings that is being lost. And in 1 year, the Kenya will have lost 9 billion Kenyan shillings. That is according to a revelation that was revealed by Governor Muthomi Njoki, who chairs as the Council of Governor Health Committee chair. And that indication that was revealed yesterday, the officials are now interrogating the counties to establish how these medics who have been protesting, demanding permanent and pensionable terms, were used these kind of fraudulent to ensure that they pose as health workers. Yet some of them are salon workers, and some of them are plumbers, and others are teachers for early childhood education. It's a shocking revelation that was revealed unveiled yesterday by the Kanithi governor Muthomi Njoki. And when the Daily Nation is reporting that when they tried to contact 10 different headcount team leaders from that were mentioned in these concerns, they refused to speak, stating that they had been strictly instructed not to divulge information. And our Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duare has directed that all UHC medics must without failure submit their original credentials and licenses at Afia House after the headcount exercise for verification and out verification. And according to the Daily Nation, which spoke to the CS for Health, the CS, and I quote, said they will have to provide their academic qualification to the Health Ministry headquarters. And through an official letter to governors dated July 4th, in reference to that letter, the Council of Governors has instructed counties to produce and present original copies of national ID and passports and offer letters of appointment in a way of getting to know how these 3,000 ghost workers have been collecting monthly salaries of over 50,000, and that is a lot of money that the country is losing. And going to other stories, we find that there is a story about someone by the name Kirao, who Samuel Charo Kirao, 27, who now the story is being given headline is saying when faith rule holds a loved one's burial. This is someone who died, and when he died, he was buried secretly through the Muslim way, through the Muslim culture, against the will of the family. And now the family of this Samuel has gone to court demanding that their loved one be exhumed, and they want to bury him in the Christian way. This is a controversy whereby someone has died, and now, and you will recall that in many societies, death is merely the end of life, but a solemn transition that calls for honor of rituals and familiar consensus. However, gentlemen, when because religion were pulling in opposing directions, when this the family wants to bury him in the Christian way, while the brothers wanted to marry him in the Islamic way, and now the case is in court. That story you will find in page 3 of the Daily Nation. We proceed to the page 4 and page 5 of the Daily Nation, whereby we see the story that was given headline in our Daily Nation, talking about how politicians have been on the spot over reckless poll rigging talk. And the newly reconstructed electoral agency IEBC Commission now has been forced to distance themselves with claims of rigging elections in 2027 that President William Ruto's allies have been talking about. And these are words that have been spoken by members of parliament who have been on record saying that there is a plan to rig elections come 2027, and for a team whose recruitment was marred by controversy. You remember when the IEBC Commission was appointed, there was a controversy whereby there were people who are linking key political players and the late inclusion of one commissioner in the shortlist. The rigging claims by politicians now allied to the president is increasing, and each and every day the members of parliament allied to the president are talking about how there is a plan to rig elections. And now the IEBC Commission has distanced themselves from those claims, and there is you remember what one of the member of parliament was saying, that if there is no president who has served only for 5 years, and he was saying that how will President William Ruto serve for only 5 years, and he was saying that that cannot happen. That was the MP for Kapsaret, MP Oscar Sudi, and he was posing earlier this year in a public rally saying that there is no president who has served only 5 years, and the President William Ruto will not be an exemption. And he was saying that there will be no way that the president will rule for 5 years. There is also another member of parliament by the name Wajir woman representative Fatuma Abdi Jiho, who claimed during the weekend, you remember the statement by Wajir women representative Fatuma, and she was saying that when, and I quote what she was saying, that when it comes to the president, we say 2 terms, and we are just waiting for the ballot. Even if we don't have enough votes, we will steal for him. That's not a secret. Those were the words of Wajir woman representative Fatma Abdi, who was vowing that when it comes to the elections in 2027, that they are going to do whatever it takes, including rigging elections, to make sure that the president wins the 2027 general election. And she's not the only one who has been saying that. You remember what his Baringo North, a member of parliament, Makilap, where he was saying, and I quote him, if they joke around, you know I come from the county of 24 years. Baringo County knows how to manufacture a president. We survived for 24 years. If they joke, we might even extend past 2 terms. Those are words of a sitting member of parliament, the Baringo member of parliament, Baringo North member of parliament, stating that they are going even to extend presidential limits. When such kind of members of parliament utter such kind of utterances, whereby they are saying that now they are going to do whatever it takes to make sure that they rig the 2027 general election. And in a statement whereby IEBC said that it was concerned about the statements on electoral malpractices that politicians have been stating, it's barely 2 years to the next general election. And I quote what the IEBC said in its statement, that such utterances are unacceptable and reckless in a democratic society such as ours. And IEBC urges all Kenyans to ignore or disassociate from them. That was the statement that was issued by the IEBC Commission, distancing themselves from the claims by leaders added to the president, who have been on record in several instances claiming that there is a plan to rig elections. And you will remember in 2007, during the disputed elections of President MUNYI Kibaki, they were triggered by deadliest post-election violence in Kenyan's history. And now, when such kind of utterances are being made by sitting members of parliament, do they recall whatever happened in 2007 in the disputed re-election of President MUNYI Kibaki that triggered the deadliest post-election violence that we witnessed in our nation? And those are the stories that we have in page 4 and page 5 of the Daily Nation. And the far end of the Daily Nation at the page 5, whereby we see presidential hopeful Dr. Fred Matiang'i yesterday talking about and warning polls agencies against rigging those elections. And the presidential hopeful Dr. Fred Matiang'i, the former Interior Cabinet Secretary, was saying that the president should be careful and that he should not attempt to rig elections in 2027. We move to page 6 and page 7, whereby we see the same story about Ruto eyes hitting back over enemies of Mount Kenya claims. And now leader of majority in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, who is also the Kikuyu member of parliament, together with Laikipia East member of parliament Mwangi Kionjori, are now pushing back against claims by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua that they are the biggest enemies of the Mount Kenya region, and that they are collaborating with President William Ruto to harm residents and destroy businesses in the region. Earlier last week, we had the former deputy president saying that the leader of majority, Kimani Ichung'wah, together with Laikipia East Member of Parliament MUNYI, are now working with President William Ruto, and that they are the enemies. They are the biggest enemies of the Mount Kenya region, and that they are collaborating with the president in ensuring that they destroy businesses of the Mount Kenya people. And now the leader of majority has distanced himself from those claims by the former deputy president. And in the latest political development that has brought tension between Mr. Gachagua and members of parliament allied to the president, they have continued to intensify, and they have been fueled by the recent deadly clashes between the demonstrators and the police that left at least 38 Kenyans dead and hundreds injured and many others arrested. And while on a tour at the United States, whereby the former deputy president is in United States for a tour, for an official tour, Mr. Gachagua has been on record in several instances accusing the leader of majority, Kimani Ichung'wah, together with the Laikipia East Member of Parliament, Kimani Kionjori, and whereby he has been saying that they are colluding with the government to oppress the Mount Kenya. And in their responses, the two members of parliament, they have dismissed those claims, calling them reckless, misleading, and self-serving. And Mr. Ichung'wah, the majority leader, has stated that Gachagua has no one to blame for his political decline but himself. And Mr. Kionjori has also criticized the former deputy president, accusing him of spreading falsehoods and promoting a toxic political culture. And I quote what he said. He said that it is truly regrettable that a person who aspires to lead the Mount Kenya region appears to have no agenda, instead driving on incitement, dissent, and empty rhetoric. Those were the words of Mr. Kionjori, who was challenging the Kenyans, Mr. Gachagua, addressing the US review in his public statement, while assessing how often he has actually been talking about development issues challenging the region and the country at large. And Mr. Ichung'wah, in his words, he was saying that the political downfall of Mr. Gachagua was not engineered by anybody else apart from himself. And Ichung'wah has said that Gachagua's own actions and attitude are the ones that led to his impeachment. That is the story we have in page 6 of the Daily Nation. And moving on to page 7 of the Daily Nation, they talk about how the Deputy Inspector General of Police yesterday resumed his duties, and it was a low-key day for the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Eliud Lagat. And in page 7, you'll see a photo and an image of the Deputy Inspector General Eliud Lagat before the National Assembly of Committee on Administration and Internal Security area this week. And that photo of the Deputy Inspector General is a photo of him in deep thought. And now the Daily Nation is talking about how they have established how Mr. Lagat arrived at his office yesterday at around 9 a.m. driving himself without the official cars that usually accompany him. And now the Daily Nation is telling us how upon arrival he held a brief meeting in his office with his principal deputy Patrick Tito. Remember, the deputy Patrick Tito was the one who was promoted when the Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagat stepped aside to ensure that the investigations of the late blogger and teacher Albert Ojwang continues. Earlier this month, the Deputy Inspector General Eliud Lagat stepped aside and said that he wants the investigation of the late teacher and blogger Albert Ojwang. The investigations to be conducted, but now details are emerging that Mr. Lagat yesterday reported back to work, and as sources familiar with his schedule, they have said that Mr. Lagat did not return to his office after officially resuming duties. And yesterday, when the Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen was asked to mention about this matter, he declined to address this matter directly, saying that today he is going to issue a statement at his office. And that story is in page 7 of the Daily Nation, and we will be waiting to hear what the Interior Cabinet Secretary will be saying, because yesterday when he was approached to talk about this matter, he declined to address the matter directly and said that he will be giving a statement today at 12 noon, and we will be waiting to see whatever he is going to say. And he spoke to Kasarani Stadium yesterday. He was speaking at Kasarani Stadium yesterday when he was assessing securities of preparedness for the upcoming Africa Nations Championship. And now the Law Society of Kenya has also talked about the matter, and the Law Society of Kenya Vice Chairperson Mwaura Kabata has said that Ojwang's father needs justice, and justice needs to be served. And we will be waiting to see how the story unfolds as the Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagat resumes to his office. And in other stories, when you move on to page 8, page 8 talks about how KNBS, that is the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and they have now been tasked of skilled hiring. And now this is a new revelation that has revealed that the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, that is KNBS, that now details are emerging that the recent employment of staff are from just 5 dominant ethnic communities. And now they are saying that the recent employment that has been happening at the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, that only 5 communities, only 5 ethnic communities, only members from the 5 ethnic communities are getting employment at the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. And according to a revelation that was made yesterday to the Senate National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Region Integration Committee, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics Director General MacDonald Abduho said that it is now emerging that only 5 communities have been employed, and that they already comprise of 304 out of the 506 employees that are working at the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. 304 of them are from 5 communities. And when he was appearing before this committee yesterday, he provided information and stated that in those out of the 506 employees that are at the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and that 102 of them are from the Kikuyu community, while 84 of them are from the Luo community, and 60 of them from the Luya community, and the Kaba community producing at least 58 of them, and the Kalenjin producing 50 employees, with the Somali, Embu, Meru, and Borana having 31, 13, 10, and 9 employees respectively. And these details is according to this committee, and according to General MacDonald Abudho, who is the Director General of Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, whereby he is claiming that out of the 506 employees at the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, 304 comes from 5 communities only. And now the investigation will be conducted to ensure that those workers, there is uniformity in the employment of the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. That story you will find in page 8 of the Daily Nation. And we move on to page 10. whereby head teachers are now demanding that the capitation funds be released because they are having problems in their schools. And the principals of public secondary schools are now demanding that the government should release over 18 billion Kenyan shillings that they owe to the institutions in capitation funding since the beginning of this year. And now the principals, when they were speaking through the Kenya Secondary Schools Head Association, they have accused the government of disbursing inadequate funds. This disbursement of inadequate funds has led to crippling of operations in majority of the high schools. And according to their calculations, the official data accumulatively, they now owe the government over 7 billion Kenyan shillings for term 1 and 10 billion Kenyan shillings for term 2. And now they are calling on government. They are demanding that the government should release capitation funds because they are in a very bad state. And the school's head who are talking, and I quote what they said, that schools are facing a major crisis. These financial constraints have severely impacted the smooth running of many institutions, with these schools bearing the brunt of the crisis, and the insufficient funding hampers the delivery of essential services, disrupting learning programs. And now the head of states are now calling on government and demanding that the government should disburse those funds that they owe them for them to continue with their services. We hope that the government is going to disburse the capitation funds so that the institutions, our institution, the Kenya Secondary Schools, can now have finances to run their operations. And at the far end of page 10 is a story on how an agency is training 5,400 teachers on tech AI under the new curriculum. And now over 60,000 is the number of junior school teachers who have now been trained in the CBE curriculum that is aiming to incorporate AI in this new curriculum. And it's a good move for the curriculum-based education, whereby now the artificial intelligence subject will now be taught under the new curriculum. That story, you will find it in page 10 of the Daily Nation. And moving on in other news, it's about how there is an uproar over NACADA's alcohol rules. Remember yesterday in our newspaper, there was a story on how there are regulations that have been proposed by NACADA, whereby they are saying that they want to increase the age of consumption of alcohol from 18 to 21. And now the stakeholders in the alcohol industry, they have now criticized the new set of rules that were put in place by NACADA, and they have termed the new rules as unnecessary, legally questionable, and potentially damaging to a sector still recovering from economic strain. And these journalists, while they were addressing while they were addressing press in Nairobi yesterday, they said the Pub Entertainment and Restaurants Association, through their chairperson, they were saying that these reforms by NACADA, and I quote what they said, there is no executive order that says that these reforms should happen, and there is no law affecting those policies, and NACADA cannot just wake up and say we have new policies. That is according to the chairperson of Pubs Entertainment and Restaurants Association. And now they are distancing themselves, and they are saying that the regulations that have been put in place by NACADA, whereby NACADA is saying the age limit of consumption of alcohol being moved from 18 to 21. They are saying also the online sale of alcohol should be banned, and that pubs should not be set near schools, near hospitals, and near churches. But now the Pub Entertainment and Restaurant Association have now called out those new set of rules, saying that they are very unnecessary and legally questionable and damaging to their sector. That story, you will find it in page 12 of the Daily Nation. And in page 14, we see whereby locals were protesting over evictions in Mada Bay. Mada Bay is a place whereby there are locals from, it's a place in Lamu, and these locals were protesting that there has been a project by the military, and they are now evicting them from their own land. And they were yesterday protesting, saying that the military should not evict them from their land and from places where thereby they have grown. That story is in page 14 of the Daily Nation. And moving on to page 16 is an autopsy of for the Nanyuki woman who was killed during the Sabasaba demos. And now the family has said that they will not conduct the post-mortem. The post-mortem was expected to be conducted yesterday. This is the case of Julia Wangoi, who died during the Sabasaba protest. And yesterday, the mother said that they are not going to continue with the post-mortem. The post-mortem that was to be conducted yesterday, the family has said that it cannot proceed with that autopsy without representatives from IPOA. And the post-mortem, which was scheduled for yesterday at Nanyuki Cottage Hospital mortuary, did not happen after family withdrew and said that they are not going to conduct the autopsy without the IPOA members being present. That story is in page 16 of the Daily Nation. And we move on to county news in page 21 of the Daily Nation, whereby we see there is, let me go to the county news in page 26. The county news, we see what we have in the county news of the Daily Nation. And with me here is the county news, whereby we've seen governors who have now turned into enlisting military to revive stalled project. And some of these governors who have now turned to using military to help them complete critical projects in their regions. And they have been mentioned. These governors include the Nakuru governor Susan Kihika and the Kakamega governor Fernandez Barasa, together with Dr. Kiari Badirisha of Nyandarua and James Orengo of Siaya, just to mention a few. Stephen Sang of Nandi and Jonathan B of Uasin Gishu. They are now details emerging that these governors have now handed over operations to do with incomplete projects to the military for them to continue with the work. And the Defense Principal Secretary Patrick Mairuru said that the president have given a directive for flagship project to be accelerated, and these governors have now sought for help from the military to ensure that they complete stalled projects, including building infrastructure such as stadiums, hospitals, and schools among the incomplete projects. That story is in the county news in page 21 of the Daily Nation. And in business news, we see Kengen now is going to venture into solar power kits business. Now the Kenya Electricity Generating Company, commonly known as Kengen, is now saying that it will start manufacturing solar power kits in a bid to diversify its revenues, and they now are hoping that they are going to tap new revenues from the growing uptick of solar. It's a good move by Kengen, whereby they are now considering to venture into solar power kits in a move to tap into the growing uptick of solar. A good move, and we'll be hoping to see what they do. That is what we have in business news. And in my last page of the Daily Nation is about the 2024 championship CHAN, whereby the African Nations Championship the Kenya has been given a green light, and now the CS was saying that now Kenya is now happy that they have been given a green light to host the CHAN, whereby they will be co-hosting together with other nations, that is Uganda and other nations. Now, yesterday when they were issuing a press conference, that they revealed that CAF has finally given Kenya a green light, and now they are ready to host the Africa Cup of Nations that will be happening in 18 days to come. And in the last story of the football news in our Daily Nation is how Chelsea's managed to beat PSG and win the Club World Cup final. And it was a thrilling match whereby Chelsea's Cole Palmer was able to score 2 goals, and Joao Pedro scoring the 3rd goal. And Chelsea fans have been so happy the last few days. They are celebrating this this cup that they won, the Club World Cup that they won yesterday. That is what we have in our Daily Nation, and we will be taking a short commercial break, and we will be getting back with the Standard newspaper. Stay tuned. My name is Dennis MUNYI.
You're watching CBS News.
Looking for a trusted supplier for all your household hardware needs? Look no further than Competitive Hardware Limited. We provide top quality building materials including cement, all types of iron sheets, paints, PPR and PVC pipes, electric pipes, building grills, BRC and square till in various sizes. Need interior and finishing materials? We've got you covered with gypsum rails, marine boards, ceiling boards and tanks of all sizes. For fencing, we stock barbed wire, chain link and wire mesh. And the best part, we offer free countrywide delivery with our fleet of transit trucks and pickups. Your order arrives on time, every time. Visit us in Kitengela along Namanga Highway, opposite 411 stage, or at our branches in Kitisuru and Busia. For enquiries, call us on 020-26-88-888 or 0733-666632 or 0721-923248. Competitive Hardware Limited, your reliable hardware supplier. Almarai Company, in collaboration with Competitive Manpower, is urgently hiring for the following exciting roles: Grade 1 mechanics, panel beaters, refrigeration technicians, lead mechanics, diesel plant mechanics, welders and stainless steel welders. Why apply? This is a free recruitment with no application or placement fees required. Contact us today on 0721 506627 or 0733 392180. You can also visit us at Waterseas Plaza, Kikorok Road. Alternatively, you can send an email to info@competitivemanpower.com. Apply now. Limited slots available.
You're watching CBS News.
Welcome back to the CBS newspaper review. Remember, you can keep the conversation going at CBS News Kenya. Send in your comments and I'll surely read them. The Standard newspaper talks about the bold headline given is muzzled by state, and we see a public servant there, a former public servant picture there, and who is the father of the Julia who was killed, Julia Wangoi, the latest victim of deadly police violence while in custody. And now this man is now broken. He's a broken man, and the headline is muzzled by state. Someone who has served at the public service for quite some years now is demanding for justice upon when his daughter was killed during the protest. And that is the story we have in the Standard newspaper. And at the far end is the embattled Deputy Inspector General walking back to office. And we go straight to page 1 to page 2 of the Standard newspaper, whereby there is a report that Kenya is taking part in the trials of the first malaria treatment for newborns. And Kenya is now among the 8 African countries that are participating in a trial for the newly approved malaria treatment, specifically designated for newborns babies. And other participants include Nigeria, the DRC, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Zambia, among many others. And these trials will be happening, and Kenya is conducting these trials, and they will be among those countries that will be participating in the trials of the first malaria treatment for newborn babies. And you'll see a photo of Chepchekoet Karita with her 3-year-old baby being treated for malaria. That is the story we have in page 2, that Kenya now will be taking part in trials of the first malaria treatment for the newborns among 8 African countries that will be participating. And there is, at the same page at the far end, there is a story of how High Court has blocked Safaricom's Bonga Point expiry plan. And the High Court in Nairobi yesterday, they refused to lift its order preventing Safaricom from introducing expiry dates for Bonga Points. It's a huge blow to Safaricom when the High Court blocked the Bonga Points expiry plan by Safaricom. And you will remember on October 28th, 2022, Safaricom had announced that Bonga Points would enhance expiry dates. However, on November 22nd in 2024, Justice Chacha Mwita declared the notice illegal, unconstitutional, null and void, ruling that Bonga Points once earned become the customer's property. And now it's a huge blow to Safaricom, whereby the High Court has said that Bonga Points expiry plan by Safaricom is illegal and should not continue. That is the story we have in page 2 of the Standard newspaper. And we move on to page 3, whereby we have musical festivals that were echoing yesterday with sacred sounds. And you will see good photos of different institutions. We have photos of St. Francis Kolongolo boys who are performing a Pakot sacred song during the Rift Valley Regional Kenya Music Festival at Nakuru that were happening yesterday. We also have photos of a school such as Kamugut High School from Wansinigishu, whereby they were performing a prayer named Israeli Luanda. That is a sacred Hallelujah song. And we also see a school such as Chemolingot Day School from Baringo. They were performing a sacred folk song on peace and harmony. And now these spiritual compositions were the ones that have been taking center stage in the final day of the Rift Valley Regional Music Festivals that were happening yesterday at Nakuru Girls High School. And they have been there was also a photo of Siwot Secondary School from Bomet, whereby they were performing a Maasai sacred song. And now it is emerging that institutions are now composing songs on sacred sounds. We also have AIC Moi Girls Samburu presenting a Samburu folk song, and there is also PCA QNet schools whereby they are performing also a folk song. And the other institutions that are there, you will find that story in page 3 of the Standard newspaper. Those are the music festivals that were happening yesterday at Nakuru, and the winners will be participating in the national festivals. We move on to page 4, whereby there is the story that was given headline, whereby now a chief in Nanyuki is now shattered after his daughter's death that were alleged in the hands of police. And this chief, by the name Martin Kariuki Rienye, who had served the government for 12 years, is stating that as an assistant chief before his promotion to chief, he enforced law, maintaining law and order and upholding state authority. But now he is heartbroken because the same government he served, in the public service, is the same government that has killed his own daughter. And you remember Julia Wangoi is a woman who was found dead in police custody, and she is the latest victim of police killings happening in police stations. We had Albert Ojwang, now we have Julia Wangui Karaoke, and now her father, who was a chief, is now complaining that having served for 12 years at the public service, he is now heartbroken after experiencing the death of his own daughter. And now, while he was speaking to media yesterday, he could be seen full of anger, and he was very much angry after the death of his son. That story you will find in page 4 of the Standard newspaper. We move on to page 5, whereby there is a new bill that is seeking to weed out rogues in growing digital currency sector. And in a bill, this is a bill that is seeking to establish a comprehensive regulatory framework for the booming virtual asset sector that is currently before the National Assembly. And this bill that has been sponsored by Molo Member of Parliament Kuria Kimani is seeking to position Kenya as a leader in digital finance on the African continent. And Kimani is highlighting how the Kenya's impressive engagement with digital assets, that Kenya is being ranked the third in Africa on a country that has embraced digital currency. And according to the MP, in the last 1 year, Kenya has traded over 258 billion Kenyan shillings. That is the cash that Kenya has been able to trade in the digital currency. And I quote what the Member of Parliament who has proposed this bill was saying. And he was saying that we have approximately 6.1 billion. We have approximately 6.1 million virtual asset services users, with the country having the potential in this space to generate at least 130 billion. And the Member of Parliament for Molo was telling the Parliament that he has had a conversation with the former Central Bank of Kenya governor, and that he dismissed virtual assets as a passing cloud. And it's now evident that digital asset technologies, including Bitcoin and stable coins, are there to stay. And the National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, who seconded the bill that was tabled yesterday, he drew parallels between the current virtual asset revolution and the Kenya pioneering role in the mobile money. That story is in page 5 of the Standard newspaper. And we move on to other stories in page 6, whereby now the High Court yesterday cleared the way for DIG Lagat return to office. And the Deputy Inspector General by the name Eliud Lagat resumed office yesterday after the High Court declined to issue conservatory orders to bar him from performing his duties. This is in a petition that has been filed by a UK-based activist by the name Eliud Matindi. He had petitioned a case at the court seeking orders to prevent Lagat from returning to office and performing any functions pending the hearing and determination of a constitution petition. But the High Court yesterday drew a court ruling that was issued by Justice Chacha Mwita. They declined to issue those conservatory orders, and instead the judge directed Lagat and the Attorney General, that is Darkas Aduol, and the National Police Service Commission to file their responses by July 23rd, after which the court is expected to issue further directions. And Lagat now is reported to have reported to work yesterday, and he had a brief meeting in his office with the Inspector General of Police, Bwana Douglas Kanja, and however, the IPOA, that is the investigative agency, that was speaking to the press yesterday, in a brief statement, they distanced themselves from the resumption of office by the Deputy Inspector General of Police. And now the Deputy Inspector General have resumed in office. Now we'll be waiting to see how will the case of the late Albert Ojwang, the blogger who was killed in police custody, we will be waiting to see will Will justice be served at the end? All with this story just die like that. And we see also in the same page, we have a story of Kunjori and Kunjori and the current majority leader Kimani Ichung'wah, whereby they have now exchanged words with the former deputy president, and they have been saying that the sentiments by the former deputy president, who was accusing them of working with the president to ensure that they loot properties and burn properties of the Mount Kenya people. They have now distanced themselves. We saw the same story in the Daily Nation. Therefore, I'm not going to repeat because it's the same story. And we move on to page 7, whereby the family of missing Wajir official have now filed a petition against the IG. And we will see a photo of Inspector General of Police there in page 7, together with the picture of lawyer Danstan Omari. Now a petition has been filed in the High Court seeking to compel the Inspector General of Police Douglas Kaja to produce our Wajir Assistant County Commissioner and who was working at the Huduma Center, Manager Hussein, who disappeared on July 8th. And the family of these missing Wajir official have now filed a petition against the Inspector General of Police, and now they are demanding that the Inspector General of Police should present their kin in 7 days. And they are saying that in this petition, they are saying they have listed the Inspector General and the Attorney General of the Attorney General together with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions as the respondents. And now they are saying that they want their kin presented before the court. This is a person who was who went missing on July 8th, and up to now he has not been found. And now the family has filed a petition against the Inspector General of Police. We move on to page 8 of the Standard newspaper, whereby we have new IEBC warning against reckless rhetoric sentiments by political figures, and the newly constructed Independent and Boundary Commission officials have now distanced themselves from the ongoing claims that there is a plan to rig elections in 2027. And now IEBC chairperson Erastus Edong has said that they have distanced themselves from those claims and that there is no plan to rig those elections. And we will be waiting to see what will happen, because the IEBC Commission has a lot of tasks to do, and they have a lot of tasks to do. And now the IEBC Commission have distanced themselves with those sentiments. We've seen in Kapsaret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi who has been vocal on President Ruto's second term, and he has been guaranteed his victory, saying that they will do whatever it takes to make sure that they rig elections. And that story is in page 8 of the Standard newspaper. Move on to page 10, whereby there is testimonies that have linked KWS rangers to fishermen who went missing. And now the Kenya Wildlife Service officers yesterday, they have described a suspect they arrested on July 18th, on whose appearance was documented that he is the Nakuru fisherman by the name Brian Odhiambo that had been indicated missing. And now the 3 KWS rangers have now testified in a case against 6 of their colleagues charged with Odhiambo's abduction on July 18th. That story, you will find it in page 10 of the Standard newspaper. And now we move on to page 11, whereby the media have been urged to spotlight silent emergencies, and the media in Kenya have been challenged now to widen their coverage of humanitarian and development issues in Kenya, and in what it was described as a persistent underreportage on issues of consumption of humanitarian content. The Kenya Red Cross Society Secretary General Ahmed Idris has said that there is room for the media houses to shine deeper into spotlight on the impact of disasters and crises long after the event have happened. That is a story you will find in page 11 of the Standard newspaper. We move on to page 12 of the Standard newspaper, whereby we see Patini losses 10 billion Kenyan shillings land case to ex-spy Chief Kanyotu's family. And now the family of the former Director of Security Intelligence, James Kanyotu, they have now won a shillings 10 billion land case in which their companies had been leaked to business tycoon Kamlesh Patini. And now in this case, this family of the former Director of Security Intelligence, they won the case of the 10 billion land case against the business tycoon Patini. That story is in page 12 of the Standard newspaper. That is what we have in the Standard newspaper. And in the county news of the Standard newspaper is a story about how angry villagers blocked the burial of a shooting victim. And these are residents of Tambani village in Tongaren, Bungoma County, whereby they halted the burial of friend Wanjala. This is a security guard who was fatally shot by police under unclear circumstances during the Gen Z protest on June 2025. And these locals, they were demanding that the body be returned to the mortuary until justice is served. And they are accusing the security company and the government of negligence. And that story, you will find it in page 19 of the Standard newspaper. And when you move on to page 20, is about a family who is mourning a man who was dragged and killed by the police. That story is in page 20 of the Standard newspaper. That is all we have in the Standard newspaper. And the last page of the Standard newspaper is the sports news, whereby now Chelsea were able to beat PSG in a thrilling match that ended 3-0. Same story that we had in the Daily Nation. And that is what we have in the Daily Nation, in the Standard newspaper. And we will be taking another short commercial break, and we will be getting back to what we have in the Taifa Leo. Stay tuned. My name is Dennis MUNYI.
You're watching CBS News.
Welcome to Competitive Training Institute, empowering you with in-demand skills. At Competitive Training Institute, we equip you with practical, job-ready skills that open doors both locally and internationally. Whether you're aiming to become a qualified caregiver, certified plumber, skilled automotive mechanic, or want to learn a foreign language like French, Arabic, or German, and many more, we've got the right course for you. Our hands-on training, guided by experienced instructors and aligned with market demands, ensures you're ready to compete and succeed in today's job market. We don't just train, we help you get hired. Our job placement team supports you in finding meaningful work after graduation. We are proudly accredited by NITA, ensuring high standards in all we offer. Ready to begin? Call us on 020-200-192 or 0721-223081, or email us at competitivetraining@gmail.com. Your journey starts here. Let's build your future together.
Competitive Manpower International Limited is recruiting delivery riders in the United Arab Emirates. If you have a passion for the road and a desire to work in a fast-paced environment, then this is your chance. Don't wait. Send your applications to competitivemanpower@gmail.com. Want to apply in person? Visit our offices at Kiko Road behind the Casa Hotel, KCB River Road, Nairobi. For more details, call us now on 0721 506627 or 0733 392180. Act. First opportunities are limited. Secure your spot today and start your journey as a delivery rider in the United Arab Emirates.
You're watching CBS News.
Karibu mpenzi mtazamaji, tunaendelea kuchambua magazeti siku hii ya leo, na hapa niko na gazeti ya Taifa Leo ambayo inasema kuwa ni jaribuni mimi Gen Z. Ni habari ambayo imepewa kipaumbele kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo. Hapa ninaona picha ya aliyekuwa waziri Bwana Matiang'i. Picha yake hapo akiwaambia Gen Z ni jaribuni mimi, akisema kuwa amejisifu kuwa yeye si mkabila, yeye ni mchapakazi na ndiye ufagio wa kufagia wale ambao anasema kuwa ni wa uozo wa serikali, na kwamba yeye si mkongwe katika siasa za Kenya. Na pia vile vile kuna habari kuhusu IEBC ikisema kuwa hakuna njama yote ya kuiba kura. Na pia hapo chini tunaona Ichung'wa Kiunjuri wakimwonya Gachagua kwa kuwaita wasaliti. Na vile vile tuna habari ya Wandanyi akisema kuwa nitakufa na Ruto, huku akifokea upinzani na wakitaka wampe rais muda aweze kutimiza ahadi zake kama alivyofanya. Na tunaenda moja kwa moja hadi kwenye kurasa wa pili ambapo tunaona hiyo habari ya Matiang'i na picha yake pale aliyekuwa waziri wa usalama Fred Matiang'i akisema kuwa yeye anataka Gen Z waweze kumpa nafasi, na waziri huyo aliyekuwa waziri wa usalama wa ndani Daktari Fred Matiang'i sasa amejigamba kuwa yeye ndiye chaguo bora zaidi kwa vijana wa Gen Z, huku akisema kuwa ana uzoefu wa kuhudumu katika serikali ya Jubilee ambayo imempa sifa zote zinazohitajika ili kuchaguliwa kuwa rais. Na sasa Matiang'i anasema kuwa hatua ya Gen Z ya kumtaja mara kadhaa hapo awali ndio iliyompa msukumo wa kuamua kupambania uongozi wa nchi hii. Na nikimnukuu alivyokuwa anasema hapo jana akizungumza na wakaazi wa Luanda Vihiga pale mwezi huu, alikuwa anasema kuwa hili vurugu la Gen Z ndilo linanipa matumaini kwa sababu limetuonyesha aina ya viongozi ambao linataka. Hawajali kuhusu ukabila au chama, bali wanataka suluhu. Hayo ni maneno ya aliyekuwa waziri wa usalama wa ndani Daktari Fred Matiang'i akisema kuwa yeye ana ushawishi mkubwa katika utawala, alikuwa na ushawishi mkubwa katika utawala uliopita wa rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta. Na pia nikimnukuu alikuwa anasema kuwa yeye sio mzee, ati mimi si mzee, sina doa la ufisadi na ninazungumza Kiswahili, siko katika orodha ya wawaniaji ambao wamepigiwa marufuku na Gen Z, kwa sababu mimi ndimi mwaniaji wao bora na kiongozi wa kunyoosha mambo wanayemtaka. Alikuwa anasema hivyo hapo jana, na waziri huyo wa zamani akizungumza kwenye mahojiano ya runinga ya Kameme amesisitiza kuwa safari yake ya kuelekea ikulu haita yumbayumbwa na vishawishi vya serikali. Na waziri huyo pia alijipigia debe kwa kusema kwamba vijana ni zaidi ya 70% ya idadi ya watu nchini, na yeye kuwa anaungwa mkono na vijana hao unamrahisishia safari yake ya kuingia ikulu. Hayo ni maneno ya aliyekuwa waziri wa ndani Daktari Fred Matiang'i, na tangu kujiuzuru kwake katika kazi yake na kurejea nchini kutoka Amerika, Daktari Fred Matiang'i amekuwa akishiriki misururu ya mikutano ya kisiasa akishirikiana. Kumbuka tumemuona akishirikiana pamoja na viongozi wengine wapinzani wakiwemo kinara wa chama cha Wiper Kalonzo Musyoka pamoja na aliyekuwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua ambaye ndiye pia kinara wa chama cha DCP. Tumemuona pia vile vile akishirikiana na viongozi kama Eugene Wamalwa wa DAP party. Tumemuona pia akishirikiana na kiongozi wa PLP Martha Karua pamoja na gavana wa Trans Nzoia George Natembeya, na viongozi hao wamekuwa wakiunda ushirikiano dhabiti wakisema kuwa watahakikisha kuwa wameweza kuhakikisha kuwa Rais William Ruto hataweza kurejea mamlakani. Na sasa Matiang'i anawaambia Gen Z waweze kumchagua kama kiongozi, manake ana sifa zozote ambazo wanahitaji. Tukigeukia kwenye habari zingine kwenye ukurasa huo, tunamuona Ichung'wah na Kiunjuri. Kiongozi huyu wa wengi Bwana Kimani Ichung'wah na mbunge wa Laikipia Mashariki Mwangi Kiunjuri wakimuonya aliyekuwa naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua dhidi ya kuwaita wasaliti. Kumbuka Bwana Gachagua akiwa kwenye ziara ya Amerika amedai kuwa wanasiasa hao ndio wanatumiwa na Rais William Ruto kuhakikisha wananyanyasa vijana na kuharibu biashara za eneo la Mlima Kenya. Hata hivyo, hayo matamshi yake yamekanushwa na viongozi hao wakiongozwa na Kimani Ichung'wah ambaye ndiye kiongozi wa wengi bungeni pamoja na mbunge wa Laikipia Mashariki Bwana Kiunjuri, na wamesema kuwa wanamtaka Gachagua akabiliwe kutokana na matamshi aliyodai ni ya kuchochea raia wa Mlima Kenya dhidi yao. Na sasa wamesema kuwa Bwana Gachagua ni mwanasiasa muongo ambaye anajifaa yeye mwenyewe, na wanasema kuwa yeye ni dikteta asiyevumilia maoni kinzani. Hayo ni matamshi ya kiongozi wa wengi bungeni Kimani Ichung'wah pamoja na mbunge wa Laikipia Bwana Kiunjuri, wakisema kuwa Gachagua, matamshi ya Gachagua ya kuwataja kama wasaliti ni matamshi ambayo haina nafasi, na kuwa aliyekuwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua hafai kusema maneno kama hayo, kwani ni maneno ya kuchochea watu wa Mlima Kenya dhidi yao. Tukigeukia kwenye ukurasa wa 3, tunaona habari ya IEBC yakiyataka raia kupuuza madai ya wizi wa kura. Na sasa hii tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka IEBC sasa inataka Wakenya waweze kupuzilia mbali tetesi kuhusu njama ya wizi wa kura, ikisema hayana msingi wowote. Na kwenye taarifa ambayo walikuwa wamechapisha hapo jana wakiongozwa na mwenyekiti wa tume ya uchaguzi na mipaka IEBC Erastus Edung Ethekon, wamesema kuwa madai hayo ni hatari na ya kwamba hiyo inafanya kuwa Wakenya wakose na imani na utendakazi wao. Na nikimnukuu maneno aliyoyasema jana, alisema kuwa matamshi kama hayo haswa yanayotolewa nje ya kipindi cha uchaguzi hayana msingi, yanapotosha na yanaweza kusababisha hofu isiyo na maana yoyote miongoni mwa wananchi. Hiyo ni taarifa ambayo ilitolewa na tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka IEBC, ikipuzilia mbali madai ya kuwa kuna njama ya kuiba kura kwenye mwaka wa 2027 kwenye uchaguzi huo. Na sasa wamekanusha madai hayo ambayo yalikuwa yametolewa na mbunge mwakilishi wa kike wa Wajir Fatma Abdi Jeho, aliyeapa kuongoza katika utekelezaji wa uovu huo wa kuhakikisha kuwa wanaiba kura kwenye mwaka wa 2027. Na sasa tume hiyo huru ya IEBC imekanusha hayo madai, ikijitenga na matamshi ya wabunge hao. Na kwenye taarifa zingine kwenye ukurasa huo, tunaona mahakama hapo jana ikikataa kumzuia naibu inspekta mkuu wa polisi Bwana Eliud Kipkoech Lagat kuendelea kutekeleza majukumu yake. Na hii ni baada ya wachunguzi kumuondolea lawama katika kesi ya mauaji ya mwalimu na blogger Albert Ojwang usiku wa kuamkia Juni 8. Utakumbuka kuwa Bwana Lagat aliweza kujiuzulu mwezi huu akisema kuwa anataka kujiondoa ili uchunguzi uweze kufanyika. Lakini hapo jana tuliona Jaji Chacha Mwita akikataa ombi la mwanaharakati Eliud Karanja Matindi ambaye alikuwa ameweka ombi la kumtaka Lagat azuiwe kurudi ofisini licha ya mamlaka huru ya kuchunguza utendakazi wa polisi kumuondolea lawama kwenye mauaji ya Bwana Ojwang ambaye alizikwa Julai 4 katika kaunti ya Homa Bay. Na hapo jana tumemuona Jaji Chacha Mwita akidinda kutoa uamuzi wa kumkataza naibu inspector mkuu wa polisi bwana Eliud Lagat kurejea afisini. Na tukigeuka kwenye taarifa zingine kwenye ukurasa wa 4, tunamuona waziri wa kawi bwana Opiyo Wandayi akisema kuwa hata banduka kwenye kabi ya Rais William Ruto na kuwa atashikilia wito wake wa kumshikilia, huku akikashifu upinzani kwa kupanga mambo mabaya dhidi ya serikali. Na waziri huyo Wandayi amewataka wa Kenya kumheshimu rais jinsi marais waliotangulia walivyoheshimiwa, na waweze kumpa nafasi aweze kuchapa kazi ili aweze kutimiza ahadi alizotoa kwa wananchi wakati wa kampeni za kuelekea uchaguzi wa mwaka wa 2022. Na alikuwa anazungumza haya akiwa kwenye kaunti ya Uasin Gishu ambayo inajulikana kuwa ni ngome ya kisiasa ya Rais William Ruto. Na sasa Wandayi amewaambia viongozi wa upinzani kwamba wakome kukosoa rais na kuwachochea Wakenya dhidi ya utawala wake, badala yake akiwataka wawe na subra hadi mwaka wa 2027 wakati ambapo Wakenya wataelekea debeni. Huyo ni waziri wa kawi bwana Opiyo Wandayi akiwakemea upinzani na akisisitiza kuwa yeye hata banduka serikalini na atabaki kupigania mambo ya serikali. Na kwenye habari zingine hapo tunaona wandani wa Ruto wakiunga amri ya waandamanaji kupigwa risasi. Na sasa hii ni habari ambayo inasemekana kuwa baadhi ya wandani wa rais kwenye ukanda wa bonde la Ufa sasa wamemtetea kuhusu kauli yake ya kuwa waandamanaji waweze kulengwa na kupigwa risasi mguuni iwapo watashiriki kwenye uporaji na uharibifu wa mali. Utakumbuka kuwa mnamo Jumatano wiki jana rais aliamrisha kuwa polisi wawapige waandamanaji risasi miguuni, hasa waandamanaji ambao wanapora mali ya watu. Na sasa hiyo kauli ya rais imeweza kuungwa mkono na baadhi ya wandani wake, ikiwemo mbunge Samuel Moroto, ni mbunge wa Kapenguria, pamoja na mbunge wa Sigor Peter Lokapchang'ong, pamoja na seneta wa Pokot Magharibi Julius Mgor na mbunge mwakilishi wa Pokot Magharibi Rael Kasiwai. Hao wote wamesema kuwa rais lazima aheshimiwe na apewe muda wa kutimiza agenda zake kwa Wakenya. Na nikimnukuu alivyokuwa akisema Daktari Moroto, alikuwa anasema kuwa huenda rais alijikwaa ulimi na hakumaanisha polisi waue raia. Kama kiongozi ambaye anachaguliwa lazima aheshimiwe. Na sasa mbunge huyo ameweza kushangaza zaidi kwa kudai kuwa kila rais lazima ahudumu mihula miwili, na amesisitiza kuwa Rais Ruto naye lazima aweze kukamilisha muhula wake. Na sasa wandani hao wa Ruto wameunga amri ya Ruto ya waandamanaji kupigwa risasi. Taarifa hiyo utaipata kwenye kurasa wa 4 wa gazeti letu la Taifa Leo. Na kwenye ukurasa huo pia tunaona vijana wakimtaka Ruto aweze kukomesha mauaji ya Gen Z. Hiyo ni taarifa ambayo utaiona kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo. Tukigeukia ukurasa wa 5 tunaona mzozo wa ardhi watishia upanuzi wa kambi ya jeshi. Na sasa inasemekana kuwa kuna mgogoro wa umiliki wa ardhi ambao umeibuka katika mpango wa serikali ya Kenya na Amerika kupanua uwanja wa ndege wa Mada Bay katika kaunti ya Lamu. Na sasa uwanja huo ambao unasemekana kuwa unafaa kupanuliwa, wakaazi wa eneo hilo sasa wameonekana kupinga hilo, wakisema kuwa wiki iliyopita wakazi hao wamesema kuwa hawataunga mkono harakati hiyo, wakisema kuwa wao hawataweza kuondoka hapo. Na sasa kuna mzozo wa ardhi ambao unaendelea kwenye bandari ya Lamu. Hiyo habari hiyo utaipata kwenye kurasa wa 5 wa gazeti la Taifa Leo. Tukisonga mbele kwenye ukurasa wa 8 tunaona watoto kati ya 10 waliouawa na makombora ya Israel kwenye vita ambazo zinaendelea baina ya Israel na Gaza. Na sasa inaripotiwa kubwa kufikia sasa watu 10 wakiwemo watoto 6 waliuawa katika shambulizi lililotekelezwa na jeshi la Israel eneo la usambaji maji la kambi ya wakimbizi ya Nuseirat ukanda wa Gaza. Na sasa watu 16 wanasemekana kuwa wamejeruhiwa katika shambulio hilo, na raia hao sasa hivi wanakabiliwa na uhaba wa chakula na maji, hali inayowalazimu kutafuta bidhaa kadhaa ambazo zitaweza kuwasaidia. Jambo hilo limeweza kuangaziwa kwenye ukurasa wa 9 wa gazeti la Taifa Leo. Na tukimalizia kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo tunaona habari za spoti, ambapo wafalme wa dunia tunaona timu ya Chelsea, picha ya timu ya Chelsea wakiweza kuibuka washindi, na picha yao wanaonekana hapo, ambapo waliweza kuibwaga timu ya PSG hapo siku ya jana na kuweza kujishindia kombe la dunia, hilo kombe la klabu bora duniani baada ya kuinyamazisha timu ya PSG. Na kwenye habari ya kumalizia kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo ni kuhusu Nigeria, Zambia zikitinga robo finali za AFCON. Na Nigeria sasa hapo jana waliweza kufika hatua ya robo finali baada ya sare dhidi ya Algeria katika mechi ya kudiba ya michuano ya wanawake ya mataifa ya Afrika iliyokuwa inachezwa hapo jana Morocco. Na matokeo hayo yalimaanisha kwamba taifa hilo kutoka kaskazini mwa Afrika Mashariki litakuwa kileleni mwa jedwali na litakuwa ina hatua mbele baada ya Zambia kuweza kushinda bao moja dhidi ya DRC. Hizo ndizo habari ambazo zimeweza kupewa kipaumbele kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo. Tutafikia hapo kwenye uchambuzi wa magazeti siku ya leo, na tuweze kuonana hapo kesho majaliwa. I have been your host Dennis Munyi. Thank you for tuning in at CBS News. Remember, you can follow us at our social media platforms at CBS News Kenya, and you can also send in your comments and feedbacks and we will read them out. I have been your host Dennis Munyi. See you. Stay tuned.
You're watching CBS News.
Join our team at AYTB in partnership with Competitive Manpower. AYTB is seeking qualified candidates for the following positions: Technical Advisor, QA or QC Personnel, Shop Coordinator, Report Organizer, Rotating Equipment Repair Technician, Valve Overhaul Technician, Machining Technician.
Contact us today on 0721 506627 or 0733 392180. You can also visit us at Waterseas Plaza, Kikorok Road. Alternatively, you can send an email to info@competitivemanpower.com. Apply now. Limited slots available.
You're watching CBS News.